Howdy doody, my name is Susie and today I thought I would share with you how to make these really delicious balsamic glazes, or really they're balsamic reductions. And I'm using balsamic vinegar, inexpensive balsamic vinegar, both white and red, to create all these different glazes just by adding a few additional ingredients to each in order to change the flavor profile. But the process is the same for all. Now, we can't replicate the flavor of the real balsamic vinegar, especially those that are very expensive, that have been aged for many years. We're taking a very young balsamic vinegar and we're condensing it to try and achieve a similar flavor profile. Now, balsamic vinegar comes from Modena, which is the northern part of Italy. They've been making it for hundreds of years. There's a very specific and complicated process to make the really expensive balsamic vinegars, which are thick and syrupy, and those are made by aging them in barrels that are of various species of wood, and the process is quite complicated. And if you're interested, I've watched lots of videos on how to make balsamic vinegar and the history of balsamic vinegar. So it's really, really interesting, the process. And then you can kind of get a good understanding why some balsamic vinegars are very, very expensive. So the balsamic vinegar is just really a super highly concentrated, very flavorful vinegar. And it has the consistency of syrup. And you can use very small amounts. This is a glaze, so you can drizzle it over vegetables, meats, cheese, and even fruits, and even ice cream. So you're gonna need a pot, and this is a 4-quart, or it's almost a 4-quart pot. It's actually a 3.6 liter pot. And I'm telling you the size of the pot because it coincides with the amount of time that I cook the vinegar. And then you're just gonna need a tablespoon. You're gonna need your inexpensive balsamic vinegar. If it's not that inexpensive, wait for a sale, which is what I did. So I started off by just buying a 500 milliliter bottle of balsamic vinegar. This is actually from Modena, and it was only $3.50. And then I also bought some white balsamic vinegar because I loved the way that the red balsamic vinegar tasted. And this was $5 on sale. And again, 500 milliliter bottles. We're going to take this vinegar, we're going to reduce it by 75%. So out of 2 cups, the end result is going to be half a cup of an extremely delicious glaze, which you only use a tiny bit, and the flavor is explosive. So the first glaze that I made, I used the red balsamic vinegar, 2 cups. I used a tablespoon of blackstrap molasses and 1 tablespoon of port. And the blackstrap molasses is going to help with creating that sweetness and depth of flavor, but it's also going to add to its syrupy-like texture. And the port, I was really hoping to capture some of that flavor from a barrel, since port is aged in a barrel. And it turned out really delicious. Let me show you how I made that. Cook it over medium heat until it becomes a syrup. So we're decanting our glaze, and we got about half a cup reduced from 2 cups. It's very syrupy. Look at how it's going down. Look at how syrupy it is in the cup. You can see it's pretty thick. Really good. Okay. Now the second one that I made, glaze, I used the white balsamic vinegar because I wanted to make a lighter glaze. And with this, I used 1 tablespoon of maple syrup and a tablespoon of white dry vermouth. And these are just combinations that I thought would go well. And it turned out delicious. Let me show you how I made that. We're gonna start off with our white balsamic vinegar. This is 500 mils or 2 cups. And we're gonna Then 1 tablespoon of dry vermouth. And 1 tablespoon of light maple syrup. And over medium-high, we'll bring that up to a bubble and then we'll simmer it for 15 minutes. So we've just got it to a little bubbling, rolling boil. And we're just going to make sure that that is on medium, and we're going to cook it for 15 minutes. So the white balsamic has completely cooled down, and you can see it has thickened up, not as thick as the red, but it still has thickened up. So I think we're going to get half a cup of this, and we're going to bottle it. So you can see it has become syrupy, the consistency of maple syrup. Let's just see how much we rendered. We've got almost half a cup. And we'll just pour it in. Yeah, it's syrupy, definitely. Here's the white balsamic. So it's got nice viscosity to it, but it's thinner than the red, and that's because of the blackstrap molasses. The next one I wanted to try, I wanted something that was really citrusy because I thought this would go great with things that are fatty, or something deep fried that goes well with an orangey flavor. So for this one, I used the white balsamic vinegar, 2 cups. I used a tablespoon of marmalade or apricot jam. And in some of these, the sugar content, instead of syrup or the molasses, I'm using a jam that I had at home, homemade jam, but it would work better with a jelly because then you're not going to have all the bits of fruits. So an apricot jelly or a marmalade jelly works great. In this case, I used the jelly from a marmalade, and I also added a bit of triple sec or Grand Marnier or Drambuie. So this turned out really delicious. The flavors were really explosive, very bright with a hint of citrus. So now we're going to make our orange flavored. We're going to use white balsamic vinegar. And that's 2 cups. We're going to use some orange liqueur. I'm using some triple sec, 1 tablespoon. And then an orange marmalade or an apricot jelly. 1 tablespoon of that. And now we're just going to bring it just over medium high, and we're going to bring that to a boil. That's been about 3 minutes and it's come to a rolling boil. And then we're just going to turn it down to medium. And we're going to just let it cook. And we're going to stir it occasionally, but we're going to set the timer for 15 minutes. And we're going to reduce this by 75% or 3/4. So we're starting off with 2 cups. We're going to end up with half a cup of balsamic glaze. And it's reduced maybe by 25%. So we're just going to leave it for another 10 minutes. So it's been 15 minutes. And this has reduced. We'll turn off the stove. And it has reduced by about 75%. So it's completely cooled. And you can see how it's really turned very syrupy. So now we can decant. You can see how syrupy that is. Now the next one that I made, again, I went back to my balsamic vinegar. I used the 2 cups of the red balsamic vinegar, but in this case, I used a tablespoon of my wild grape jelly, which is super delicious and very intense in flavor on its own. And I also added a tablespoon of my cherry liqueur. So I'm just using combinations of things that I have. And this turned out really delicious. This was a much softer, sweeter, but yet tart glaze. Very nice. Milder than the first, and then I'll go into the taste profiles at the end. So this is how I made that. For this, we're going to use 2 cups of red balsamic vinegar. We're going to use a tablespoon, and this is my wild grape jelly jam. And then we're going to use a tablespoon of my cherry liqueur. We're going to cook it just a little bit higher than medium, and we're going to bring this in about 5 minutes. It's going to take about 4 to 5 minutes, and I'm just going to give this a stir. This is already boiling, so now we're just going to turn it down to medium to maintain that bubble and evaporation, and then we're just going to time it for 15 minutes. So it's been 15 minutes, and this is our grape balsamic. We're just going to turn this down, and we've reduced it by 75%. You can see the viscosity has changed, and we're going to let that cool completely, and then we're going to decant it. So the wild grape balsamic glaze has totally cooled. You can see how nice and thick that is. So now we can decant. Very syrupy. And then the last one, I wanted to really try using something that was a little bit sweeter and lighter and fruitier. So I used some of my strawberry jam, which I had to pass through a sieve in order just to get the glaze without the bits of fruit, to keep my glaze nice and clear. And for that, I used 2 cups of the white balsamic, 1 tablespoon of the strawberry jam. And then for this, I wanted something a little bit exotic, so I used elderflower liqueur to give it a light floral flavor, and it turned out delicious. For the next glaze, I'm going to be using a white balsamic vinegar with strawberry jam and elderflower liqueur. And I'm using my homemade strawberry jam, and I want to remove the fruit. So I've just heated up 2 tablespoons of strawberry jam in the microwave for about 20 seconds. And I'm just putting it through a sieve, and you can see I'm getting a clear strawberry jelly that doesn't have any bits of fruit in it, which will keep my glaze very nice and smooth. And then I'll be able to use the leftover fruit jam on toast. We're going to make our white balsamic, strawberry, and elderflower liqueur glaze. So we're using 2 cups of the white balsamic. Then we're going to add 1 tablespoon of that strawberry jam, which I have passed through a sieve. A tablespoon of the Saint Germain, and this is the elderflower liqueur. And this has some floral notes to it, and it tastes like a sweet sherry with some floral overtones. And now we're just going to turn the stove a little bit over medium, and we're just going to bring this to a boil. It's going to take about 4 to 5 minutes. It's been about 4 minutes, and it's going to take about 4 or 5 minutes. I'm just going to stir to make sure that that jam is completely melted in. And it's turning into a really pretty kind of an apricot color. And then I'm just going to turn this on medium, and I'm going to time it for 15 minutes. And minutes and I haven't touched it. You can see it's on a low boil over medium, so there's no chance of it burning. It's just reducing slowly. It's been 15 minutes and I have my fan on and a candle because the smell is quite strong. Now we can turn that off. And it's thickened up a little bit. We're gonna let it sit and cool. So our strawberry balsamic has completely cooled down. And you can see how that's really thickened up and has a really beautiful viscosity. So now we're gonna decant it. So now we've got our strawberry. And look at how syrupy that is. And it's a really pretty color. So now you can see how very simple it is to make. You really need 20 minutes. You need about 4 to 5 minutes slightly over medium heat to bring that vinegar solution to a bubble, then reducing it to medium to maintain that bubble for 15 minutes, and you get the perfect amount every time, half a cup, where you've reduced your vinegar by 75%. So this is 75% more concentrated than the original product we're starting off with. And it's very difficult to really accurately describe the flavor. The first one, which is the blackstrap molasses. Oops, that's a little bit too much. I mean, this is concentrated and you should really be having it with food. Yes, so this one with the blackstrap molasses most closely resembles a balsamic vinegar that is aged and is expensive. It's not exactly the same. It can't be because it only cost me $3.50 to make. But it has the same body and viscosity of a really good aged balsamic vinegar. You can, it has tartness to it. It's sweet. You can it does have a little bit of the flavor of the blackstrap molasses, but the lingering flavor in the back, if your throat is actually very nice and smooth. Now you can enjoy this glaze on so many different foods. You can enjoy it on steak, on, I've got a mushroom here. All of these go great with cheese, any kind of cheese, because you've got that salty, sweet, and sour flavor. But we're gonna try this. And this is aged cheese, so we're just gonna try a little bit. That's dynamite. Really, really great. This also goes great on mushrooms. So if you don't want to put it on cheese, and this is just a grilled mushroom. Delicious. This one goes especially great with the mushroom because the mushroom has that that earthy flavor and it complements it great. Then we've got our maple vermouth. And now this one, I can't recall all the flavors from memory, is much lighter than the blackstrap molasses and port, and it's using the white balsamic vinegar, so the flavor profile is different. So that's really delicious too. It's a little bit sweeter. You get some notes of the maple syrup, and it still has that tartness, but it's much lighter and smoother than the one with the blackstrap molasses. So I thought what would accompany this really well is kiwi with cream cheese. Delicious. They're all delicious in their own way. The next one that I made, the next one I'm going to try is the orange citrus. And I know that this one is very bright when you taste it. So this is the marmalade with the triple sap or Cointreau. This, because I use the jam, is it has a much thicker, syrupy texture than the maple syrup. Wow. So this is much brighter. It has more of a punch in terms of the flavor, but it's sweet, and you can almost have some hints of citrus. And this is absolutely delicious. This would go great on duck or coconut shrimp or really anything. This, I'm going to try it on a grilled piece of pineapple. Wow, I love it. I think I've said I love it, all of them. That's really delicious. The next one, now this is the wild grape and the cherry liqueur. And I was excited about tasting this one because I made it with my homemade wild grape jam, and I know what that tastes like. It's my favorite. And the cherry liqueur, which I also made. So this one has a nice syrupy, it's got a lot of, it's got good texture. It's very syrupy, but not as syrupy as the blackstrap molasses. This is so delicious. So I don't know why, but it's tart, but it's not as tart as the blackstrap molasses, which I'm surprised because the wild grape jelly has a lot of intense flavor and sharpness. But the combination of the wild grape jelly and the cherry liqueur make this it's very smooth, it's sweet, it's tart, but it leaves you with, it's just like a really smooth finish at the back of your throat. So I'm going to try it on this chocolate truffle that I've made from dates, walnuts, and cocoa powder. So it gives us an example of, or it gives me some indication of what it would taste like on a dessert. I'm going to use my little fork. Wow, delicious. I already knew it would go great with something sweet, but it tastes really good with chocolate and it tastes really good with nuts. And so for the final one, we're going to try our strawberry, and look how pretty. You might not be able to tell on the camera, pink color. You can't tell by the scent of what it's going to taste like. But I already know that this is, it's sweet, it's light, and it has more of a fruity flavor than the other ones, with the exception of the marmalade, which you can taste the citrus. So it's sweet, it's tart, but not too tart. It's light, and it definitely has a, you can taste that there's a fruit flavor, or I don't want to say a floral overtone with the elderflower liqueur, but there is a flavor in there which I enjoy, and I don't really know what it is. So this we're going to try over strawberries. And of course you can try any of these on anything. I'm just using this as an example. Probably aware, balsamic over fresh strawberries or ice cream, but I'm going to see what it tastes like with the strawberry balsamic glaze. Lovely. So there you have it, all our glazes. They're all made the same way. They're all super delicious, but they each have their own unique flavor profile. These will keep on the shelf for years, so they're shelf stable. It's actually advised not to refrigerate them because the condensation in the fridge can actually dilute your vinegar. So just keep them in the cupboard in a cool, dark spot, and these will last for years. They'll also make beautiful gifts if you're able to find really pretty bottles. And in these, I've just added some ribbon, and this is a wax seal stamp, which I've included. You can top them off with various tops, really adorable. So there you go. We can take something that's just as ordinary as inexpensive balsamic vinegar from the grocery store and turn it into something that is super decadent that you and your guests will love. So I hope you like this tutorial. If you like it, I hope that you try it. And if you try it, I hope you share it. Until next time, enjoy those glazes.